Here's my personal favorites of the year. The personal Oscars. If I were to have a similar ceremony, these are the winners. If you just want to see the top 15 of the year, at the end of this video, check the timestamps. I've got 6 nominees for the above the line categories. For Best Director, there was a female snub this year. It wasn't Greta Gerwig, it was Celine Song for Past Lives. I also have Nuri Bilge Ceylan for About Dry Grasses, Turkey's Best Director, who's never been nominated, but he's been immensely celebrated in the film community for his static camera style and existentialist themes, which he manages to give to the rich characters in his movies. I love the atmosphere in his movies. I also have Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, of course, and Justine Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, as well as Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things and Martin Scorsese for Killers of the Flower Moon. Honorary mention goes to Wim Wenders for Perfect Days and Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest, who didn't make the cut. I think the Academy will obviously give it to Nolan. He deserves it this year. And although I loved what director Ceylan did for About Dry Grasses, as well as Lanthimos and Song, but I fully agree, it should go to Christopher Nolan this year. For Best Actress, I've got Sydney Sweeney for Reality. That's a movie that kind of went under the radar. A great interrogation drama. I also have Emma Stone for Poor Things and Merve Distar for About Dry Grasses. She won in Cannes and was amazing. It's a very three-dimensional character. I also have Sandra Hüller for Anatomy of a Fall, Greta Lee for Past Lives, and Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla, playing the role of Elvis's wife. An honorary mention goes to the terrific performance by Carey Mulligan for Maestro. Sandra Hüller's character in the film Anatomy of a Fall is so prevalent. She has so many nuances. As soon as we enter the courtroom in the film, it starts to explore the marriage. It is the mother, uniquely played by Sandra, and her love for the man that must be judged. I loved Emma Stone, and she's definitely in second place here, but my award goes to Sandra. For Best Actor, I have Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer, Teo Yu for Past Lives, Koji Yakusho for Perfect Days. He plays Hirayama, a wonderful man. A man who speaks volumes with silence. He performs all his tasks precisely and properly as a toilet cleaner, in contrast to his young and clumsy mate. Hirayama loves his repetitions and the dull life, which many look down on. A terrific performance. I also have Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers, Andrew Scott for All of Us Strangers, a movie that is so emotional and he carries that film. I also have Denise Seliloglu for About Dry Grasses. He plays a very nuanced role, a sad and annoying teacher. Honorary mention goes to Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, and Zac Efron for The Iron Claw. This was probably Zac Efron's best role. Not sure who I should give it to, since all of them would be deserving, as well as Bradley Cooper, Jeffrey Wright, and Zac Efron. However, Cillian Murphy is exceptionally good in the lead role and brings out the emotional stress that was driven up to the testing of the nuclear bomb, but also how haunted he was by the guilt of creating a weapon that can destroy our world. The POSCAR goes to him. For Best Supporting Actor, I have Charles Melton for May December, who famously got snubbed in this category. I also have Milo Machado Grainer for Anatomy of a Fall, Glenn Howerton for Blackberry, a very underrated performance, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer, and Paul Mescal for All of Us Strangers. All of these 6 beat out Ryan Gosling, Mark Ruffalo, and Willem Dafoe. The best performance of the year, Milo's child acting. For Best Supporting Actress, I have Lily Gladstone in this category. She is in the movie for 56 minutes, aka 27%. Robert De Niro is in the movie for 9 minutes less, and he's also in supporting. DiCaprio is obviously the lead of the film, being in the movie for almost 2 hours, so I have Lily Gladstone in supporting. I also have Sandra Hüller for The Zone of Interest, Da'Vine Joy Randolph, of course, for The Holdovers, Daniel Brooks for The Color Purple, and I also have Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple. I really like that performance. I also have Julianne Moore for May December. The obvious winner here is Da'Vine Joy Randolph, who's with 95% certainty going to win at the Oscars. But I have Lily Gladstone here, so I'm going to give it to Lily Gladstone. Best Original Screenplay, I also have 6 nominees here. I've got Anatomy of a Fall, Past Lives, Monster. I also have About Dry Grasses, The Holdovers, and Barbie. I've put Barbie in original. I disagree with the Academy's decision to have it in adapted because it's adapted by a doll, So in my lineup, I have the film in original screenplay. It's an original screenplay, of course. Very strong writing amongst the 6 nominees here. All of the nominees here have a personal touch. Many of them riddled with metaphors and interesting narrative choices. For instance, Monster's incredible screenplay. It's a runner-up for the award, which I'm giving to Past Lives. For Best Adapted Screenplay, I've got Boy Is Afraid here. It should be adapted since it's based on Ari Aster's short, and I see that it's been nominated somewhere else in adapted, so I have it here. Boy Is Afraid is absolutely crazy and creative, and a movie we'll analyze for years to come. I also have Killers of the Flower Moon, Poor Things, The Zone of Interest, Blackberry, and The Boy and the Heron. I love all these screenplays, but my favorite is Beau is Afraid. Characters and events are visual representations of the past, and they are mixed into a wild dreamscape. Ari Aster throws out metaphors for us to better understand Beau's odyssey. I love the Freudian combinations towards the end. It's a great screenplay. Best Animated Feature. I've got Robot Dreams, The Boy and the Heron, Suzume, Elemental, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. One film I haven't seen, which I'm very much looking forward to, is the Polish film Chłopy, known as The Peasants internationally. It was on the shortlist, but it's nowhere to be found and doesn't premiere anytime soon. So if it's good, it's probably going to end up on next year's list. As for the winner here, I liked Across the Spider-Verse, but I would have preferred a 3-hour or longer epic. It would take the animators more years, and I would say give them as many years as it needs, because the end result would be amazing. As it is now, being part 1 kills off so much momentum for me. Additionally, I think the animation was too overblown. Some of the somber moments, they needed to breathe. They got bombarded with so many bright colors and took away the connection I had. So I preferred Suzume, Robot Dreams, and The Boy and the Heron above Spider-Man. Robot Dreams was very cute, like Past Lives for kids, and I'm very happy that it's nominated at the Oscars. But the winner here is Miyazaki for The Wonderful Boy and the Heron. Best International Film, I've got About Dry Grasses for Turkey. I've got Anatomy of a Fall for France. Although The Taste of Things, which France selected, is a good movie, this is France's best film. And the fact that they yet again did not submit a fantastic movie is absolutely ridiculous. So in my lineup, I have Anatomy of a Fall representing France. I also have Society of the Snow for Spain, Fallen Leaves for Finland, and The Zone of Interest for United Kingdom. And in this case, Anatomy of a Fall will beat The Zone of Interest, even though The Zone of Interest will win at the Oscars. Best Documentary, I've got 20 Days in Mariupol, Beyond Utopia. Great insight into North Koreans that have successfully escaped from their home. Horrifying tales, sad that it didn't get nominated at the Oscars. I also have And the King Said, What a Fantastic Machine, a movie that starts out like a simple history lesson about photography and goes into many other fields. I loved how it reflected on terrorist videos and live streaming with its many pros and cons. Really interesting structure. I also have Holy Shit, a very fun documentary about poop. It tells us a lot about what we can do about human waste and many interesting and forward-thinking solutions. We travel to various cities to observe how they deal with human waste. I also have the very heartwarming film Still, a Michael J. Fox movie. Although I really liked Beyond Utopia, the winner is 20 Days in Mariupol. For Best Original Score, I've got Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Joe Hisayashi's score for The Boy and the Heron. It was really beautiful. I've got Society of the Snow. Also, I know it can be silly of me to pick this 5th option, but I have to admit, I really liked the Super Mario Bros. Movie score. We shouldn't be afraid to pick silly children's movies like this one here, because I thought the score was great at combining elements from the various games. Honorary mention goes to Ryuichi Sakamoto's score for Monster and Robbie Robertson's score for Killers of the Flower Moon, both composers that would deserve a posthumous nomination. I also have the score for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I think the very surreal way they pluck the heartstrings in Poor Things, the creativity and uniqueness of the score wins the award this year. For Best Original Song, I got Keep It Moving from The Color Purple, Quiet Eyes from Past Lives, I also don't care about the 2 songs rule, so I have all 3 Barbie songs here. What Was I Made For, I'm Just Ken, and Dance the Night. What Was I Made For is the best one, so it wins. For best sound, I've got The Killer, David Fincher's film that really didn't get any attention, but the soundscape is great. I also have The Zone of Interest, Oppenheimer, The Taste of Things, and The Creator. The sound design in The Zone of Interest is impeccable. I didn't nominate it for score since there's so little of it, and the other nominees were great, even including Super Mario. But the muffled soundscape and the contrast of the idyllic nature and hell on earth on the other side of the wall, it's so bone-chilling. It's a brutal and experimental film worth experiencing in the theaters because of its soundscape. Best production design, I've got Poor Things, Asteroid City, which was like forgotten in the year, The Taste of Things, Beau is Afraid, and Barbie. Poor Things is absolutely bonkers, hilarious, and the film is like a fever dream with wonderful production design. Such a craft in this engaging, gross Frankensteinian visual love fest. Best cinematography, I've got Oppenheimer, The Zone of Interest, definitely deserves a nod here. Perfect blocking and shot composition, masterfully created camera work. I've got Poor Things, Taste of Things, and About Dry Grasses. Ceylon's films always capture a beautiful part of Turkey. Poor Things is so unique in its photography. The fisheye lens that Lanthimos used earlier in The Favorite worked quite well here. But with the themes that Poor Things is about, I think it's just much more cleverly used here than in The Favorite. So for me, it wins the POSCAR. For best makeup and hairstyling, I've got Saw X. Many horror films have a tremendous amount of makeup, amazing makeup too. The Saw franchise really has it here. The same goes for The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I also have Maestro, Society of the Snow, and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That one had 22,500 prosthetic appliances, 500 wigs, 130 facial hair pieces, and 117 pairs of contact lenses that were used to transform a cast of 100 principal actors and 1,000 background artists. And it all looks amazing. It's a travesty that the Academy didn't nominate Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 for this one. This is an easy win. Best costume design, I've got Poor Things, Barbie, the Danish film Empire, which is about Danish colonialism, Priscilla, and Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm struggling between Barbie and Poor Things on this one, but I loved how they reincorporated so many genuine designs from Barbie's history of clothing that I gave it the POSCAR. For best editing, I got Missing. It's one of those screen films alongside with its predecessor Searching. It's wonderfully and creatively solved in post-production. I also have Past Lives, Poor Things, Killers of the Flower Moon, and Oppenheimer. Thelma Schumacher's editing work on Killers of the Flower Moon can't be understated. Great rhythm. It wins the award. Best visual effects, I've got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Dungeons and Dragons, The Creator, Society of the Snow, and Napoleon. I really thought the battle scenes in Napoleon were expertly crafted. The combination of practical effects and the visual effects was quite impressive. However, the award goes to The Creator. Best casting. I used to have Best Ensemble Cast in my previous videos, but since the Academy are adding Best Casting to the mix in 2 years, I've changed up the Ensemble Cast to Best Casting, so it's no longer about the ensemble, but casting director finding the perfect people for the perfect roles. Either in big productions or small, famous stars transforming into new, exciting roles, or new talents being discovered by brilliant casting directors, such as the stars in How to Have Sex or the bigger ensemble piece Oppenheimer. I also have Asteroid City, Killers of the Flower Moon, and the way they found perfect cast for Society of the Snow. I admire the naturalistic approach for Society of the Snow, so I'm giving it the win. Best Stunts Choreographer Dance, also a made up category. I've got John Wick Chapter 4, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, The Color Purple, The Iron Claw, and Barbie. Iron Claw was great, and so were the dance numbers in The Color Purple and Barbie, but my vote goes to John Wick, a franchise I didn't really care too much about, but the fourth film had great action choreography. And now for Best Picture, I've got 15 nominees, my top 15 of the year. Number 15, The Taste of Things. It follows the life of a chef and his family in France in the late 1800s working in a kitchen. Definitely one that will make you hungry for an exquisite dinner. The camera glides through the kitchen and does a different job than the snappy editing you get from other kitchen films. It has a delicious sound design. At number 14, I got 20 Days in Mariupol, amazing documentary about the Russian invasion told through a brave Ukrainian documentarist. At 13, I've got Dream Scenario, a very fun film about Nicolas Cage, who plays the sad teacher Paul, who suddenly pops up in everyone's dreams. It is a witty but also somewhat sad film, borrowing a bit from drama, comedy and horror. The film is about the power of social media and the cancellation culture. What can Paul do when he appears in someone's dream, an act he has no control over, and his presence makes people uncomfortable? Is it harassment if his dream person does something wrong in a girl's dream? These are excellent questions that the film asks. Number 12 is Perfect Days, a movie that finds beauty in the monotone. It takes inspiration from cinema verite, just an observation of a humble introvert who cleans toilets in Tokyo without any, and suddenly one day his life changed plot point that sets things in motion. It's just repetition. And that's okay, because it's not always that your life gets these surprising things that turns everything upside down for you. You can have the same job today, tomorrow, and 10 years from now. Number 11 is The Zone of Interest, the Holocaust movie where you don't see the Holocaust. It lingers on in the background, and even though it chronicles the life of the family and the chief of command at Auschwitz, it rather wants to talk about the banality of evil. This is a brilliant and experimental film about the Holocaust, but most about ignorance. It's not just a physical wall that separates the commandant from the concentration camp, it is an abstract distinction we can find today. At number 10, I've got Barbie. This movie grew on me, and I like it more and more and more. This is kind of like an Adam and Eve story where Eve was created out of Adam's rib. Ken is the accessory created from Barbie, and it explores the doll and its social impact, combining it with feminist themes and have tons of nuances about men and women. I didn't like the Mattel guys originally, but fell in love with the theory that they were all escaped Kens. That kind of sealed the deal for me, and there's so much more to analyze in the film. At number 9, I've got Fallen Leaves. Aki Kaurismäki's latest Finnish film combines everything he's good at. Short and sweet stories. This one is about two social outcasts finding each other. It's really cute and heartwarming. These two lonely souls meet by chance in a karaoke bar. Finding happiness is hard, but maybe these two social misfits can do it. At number 8, I've got Society of the Snow. I've seen the original film with Ethan Hawke, and this one was just as good. Everything felt so much more naturalistic with its actors correctly portraying South Americans. The cannibalism was much more apparent, as well as the various wounds. The original film has such a quick resolution, while this one takes its time and breathes a little bit more towards its ending. It's very engaging. At number 7, I've got Oppenheimer. Amazing what Nolan accomplished. I'm very happy it got so much attention this year. Like a year ago, I anticipated this film to get a little bit under the box office results for Dunkirk, but this one ended up like right behind the $1 billion mark. Really impressive for a biopic. At number 6, I've got About Dry Grasses, which is about a teacher who is challenged by an accusation of inappropriate behavior towards a student. What follows is a dialogue-driven film between him, another teacher, and a woman. The script is great with a visual web of philosophical dialogue, but also some subtle humor. This is a long and quiet film, but completely engrossing in the unique way that Ceylon makes it. In the 5th place, I got Killers of the Flower Moon. Martin Scorsese is probably the best American director we have today, and the only man who can create epics in the same way that Cecil B. DeMille or David Lean did in their heydays. Killers of the Flower Moon is an insane crime drama, an escalating tragedy, a film about greed, despair and power, which shows a systematic genocide. Eminent performances and a lot of subtlety. I would place this in the same realm as other 3+ hour movies like Lawrence of Arabia and Gone with the Wind. In the 4th place, I've got Beau is Afraid, a perfect nightmare. Beau is Afraid is clearly a film for those with special interest, but I'm always keen on works of art that dare to experiment, movies with this kind of dream logic and psychosexuality. There's an exaggerated sense of anxiety throughout the film, which is derived from the protagonist's childhood abuse. A24 is a champion of the slightly smaller and special films. In the 3rd place, I've got Anatomy of a Fall, a film where the visually impaired son finds his dead father. Did he fall from the attic window of the cabin? Was it a suicide or was he pushed down? It's a razor-sharp script and a carefully constructed crime story, which steps out of the classic whodunit structure and chooses to focus on the mother in the film. It is an autopsy of a marriage in an engaging courtroom drama. The final 2 spots are pretty much both at the top. It's the crazy and memorable ride Poor Things. Great performances and a fantastic story, and just being engrossed in that film, nothing like I've ever experienced before. As well as the winner film being Past Lives, which really spoke to me. It has such a somber feel to it. I love the way it was an immigration story and the distinctions it did between the kid mind and the grown-up one. It deals with insecurities in a very realistic way. There's a lot of raw feelings in a simple and amazing story, and it spoke very, very much to me. So Past Lives got the top spot. What are your favorites of the year? You can also check out the other videos. See you later.